I am here with John Beater and Katie DeRoche, who have just put together this film I'm so excited to see tonight, Composed. So welcome. Thank you so much for chatting with me. Thanks for coming over.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much.
Great to meet you in person. And I'm just so pumped to see this film. And I've been talking to people, talking with Nathan Cole, talking with Brent Edmondson, and it's so many questions about what the process and all that. But maybe can we just give us a little bit of background about yourself? You're both musicians.
Yeah.
Yes, we're both musicians. Well, originally.
You start.
Okay. I studied as a violinist.
Yeah.
I got into halfway into my first year of my graduate degree, and then kind of fell away from music a little bit, and then
I pulled
met
her
this
away.
guy.
Okay.
So yeah, Katie and I met playing music. We were both part of faculty in this very small music program in Ireland that happens. It's just a couple weeks. And we met. She was going back to Ottawa to finish her degree. I was in Boston, not doing music at that stage. And we're like, let's go on an adventure together and move to New Zealand. So that's what we did. But yeah, I studied at BU and studied under Tim Jennis and Rich Flanagan and got really into taking auditions. And that was the only thing I wanted to do. And then that's the last thing I wanted to do. And so, left for a long time. So this is kind of our kind of homecoming to music.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Yeah.
What did you do when you were in New Zealand?
So when we got there, it's kind of a long story. We got there was this earthquake in Christchurch. We just moved there. We were thinking we'll do music, we'll get part-time jobs, and we'll travel and see New Zealand. We ended up both getting, I got a job in IT, Katie
I did
got
an
a
office job. Yeah.
And actually, what was the orchestra we played with in Dunedin?
It was a ballet. Wasn't the Auckland.
Auckland? No. It was in Dunedin. It was a small community orchestra, but that was like the last time we played an orchestra together.
That's right.
Yeah. So yeah, we kind of just left music and we're doing just kind of normal jobs to pay the rent and pay for our travels in New Zealand. And even in Australia, we did the same kind of stuff. I worked in IT. Katie worked as an admin. And yeah, did we do any music in
We didn't do a whole lot. I think through that time we were kind of falling further and further away from music in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah. We did a little bit of jamming on our own at home.
Yeah.
But that's about it.
But like, it was weird how we this idea started in Australia.
It did. Okay.
Yeah. Just talking to a friend about beta blockers, percussionists. And we were like, both Katie and I had this conversation of like, yeah, why don't we talk about that? That is weird. And that kind of progressed into, we should make a film about this, So, yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of like the elephant in the room, this subject of performance anxiety, and so I'm so thankful that someone's addressing this and in this sort of comprehensive way that you're doing, because for me it's like something you talk about every once in a while, maybe like a little bit with your teacher kind of, but they didn't really go through it, or maybe they did, and then talk about it with my stand partner, and so what a great idea to address this and in a documentary. And so two musicians and you're traveling, and at what point did you have some filmmaking skills in your background? How did that all develop?
So, I studied at Boston University, and in my third year, I picked up a camera. Someone wasn't using their video camera. I was like, I'll just make some videos for fun, and got really into it. So much so that in my last year, I tried to switch, or my last year and a half, and they were like, there's absolutely no way you can switch now. It's too late. So I just took classes, as many classes as I could. I basically filled all of my time auditing classes, different kind of film classes. And then after BU, Katie and I would make like fun videos for ourselves and for our family and
Little
stuff.
travel videos and things like that. Yeah, montagey.
Exactly. And nothing too ambitious. But we enjoyed it. And so when this opportunity came along, it was like, I had talked about making a film for years. And we started figuring out, all right, well, if we were going to do this, how much would it cost to get a camera that we could, do something real with, and how much our lights, and started putting together all the kind of pieces to facilitate actually making it, because we didn't have a lot of that stuff. And so for the first 18 months, Katie was working and I was really figuring it out kind of as I was going along. I won't point them out to you when we watch the film, but there are some shots that I'm like, no, that's totally wrong. And like the light should have been over there. But Katie can talk about this, but when we were finished filming, I mean, it's amazing to get all this footage, but then you go, well, now we have to put it together. And I had never edited a film. I had done little things before. Katie had edited like some of these smaller videos. But she kind of took on the reins of like, well, let's figure out where you start. How do you put these pieces together? And it was a lot of Google searching and
a lot of YouTube watching and that kind of thing.
Did you like? Was there anything in particular? I'm just trying to remember what we used to like learn how to.
There was that seminar that you found on YouTube. There's like a multi-episode seminar that was just invaluable.
This documentary editor,
Yeah.
just basically saying, "This is what you do.
These are the steps."
After you've collected all
We
this
took
footage."
notes while we were watching the video.
Yeah. And we'd also watch. We became students of documentaries.
That's right. Yeah.
So we'd just watch tons and be like, I really like how they did that. Or, this is a really effective way of introducing this new character, or, highlighting this one specific point, or things like that.
Yep.
So long-winded answer to your
No, it's fascinating. And like these days, I was talking to a friend of mine who's a university professor, and he says his job right now is basically the curator of the YouTube for his students. There's so much material out there. His job is just to like show which YouTube videos to watch to learn the skill you're trying to learn. So
That's funny.
I've been there. So what do people, wide question, but what do people struggle with most in terms of performance anxiety? Like what are some of the takeaways you learned through this whole process?
And I'd love to hear what you think too, Katie, but I think the thing that I noticed the most, this is with interviews, talking to people as we screen it, and myself, is that the thing that's the hardest to do is to separate your identity as a musician versus as a person.
Yeah.
So when we have challenges or issues or failings within music, they feel like failings or issues or challenges as a human being, which, depending on how much time and energy you're putting into your music, I mean, it makes sense. But that to me seems like the biggest struggle of being able to face any kind of challenges, just like, oh, well, this is a normal challenge that any profession goes through. I'm going to, figure out how to address this. It often feels more like, there's something wrong with me.
Yeah.
I am imperfect as a human, and because of that, now my life isn't good, essentially.
And then coupled with that is, I mean, obviously this is compounded, but the idea that it's so taboo and it's really not an open topic, and a lot of people feel very alone dealing with, these issues of feeling like,
Yeah, exactly. So you have this, something's wrong with me. No one else has.
Right, I'm the only one.
And I mean, that's a mental health thing that is a barricade to people feeling like they can talk about things. So it definitely reaches into wider kind of issues that we face as individuals.
Yeah.
Well, it's like the stakes are so high, and then these experiences, and if you take them personally, like they compound over and over. I was chatting with Kevin Brown, who's the principal bass of Detroit, and we were talking about how he started young and was just performing in public all the time. He started at age 3, and how like kind of those early public performance wins kind of build up your confidence to just get up there and do that. And the reverse, unfortunately, can kind of be true. I think about I took probably 30 auditions, and I saw in the downward spiral, right? From making the finals to making the semifinals to not making anything. To not even be sure if I should show up, and taking it so personally and that's such a struggle that I think so many people can identify with. Like, how do people how, out of all these people you talked to, did you see any commonalities in terms of how people broke through that? What were some of the things you discovered?
I mean, I think what's really interesting is that some people, when they're dealing with this or addressing it, sometimes it is a very quick mindset change or just something that they can do very quickly and easily. But for most people, it's not. It's like a deep exploration of, well, who am I as a person? What things give me enjoyment? You know, what is my identity? Is it completely tied to music? You know, some people leave music and then come back, or don't come back and find out, oh wait, I'm a good person and I'm okay without this. Yeah, I think there's someone we talked to in the film. He doesn't mention this specifically, but I've certainly encountered this myself. I don't know about you, of leaving music and feeling like, okay, good, I can survive, I can be happy without it. Then you kind of realize, well, but also it gives me so much happiness. It's so fulfilling. It's so amazing. So now we talk a lot about performing again and trying to get more involved with music. But it was so deeply ingrained in me that if I failed as a musician, I failed as a person, I kind of needed to leave music to test that, you know, am I actually a failure if I leave? But yeah, so for some people, it's been a mindset thing. For a lot of people, I think it's, you know, we talk to a lot of musicians who've been in orchestras for a long time. And this Ken Merkin, he's the violist in the New York Philharmonic. He was saying, like, you got to have hobbies. Yeah, you got to have things outside of music to also lift you up. You know, because if you put everything on this one pedestal, and it cracks and it falls over or something, it feels like everything falls over. So he was saying, you know, he likes to be involved in the like kind of behind the scenes stuff that's happening with the orchestra committees. And, you know, has all kinds of different things that fulfill him outside of that, so that it's not this kind of make or break thing. Granted, he is in the New York Philharmonic, so, you know, maybe easier to say once you're in the orchestra, but that was definitely a common theme of detaching that, you know, I'm a musician, I'm a person, they're one and the same, but also separate.
It's amazing how this thing that you might think it's just, I just have to figure out this one thing. It's like such a deep-rooted thing in all of us, right? It's like really getting to know yourself as a person, like you're saying. And yeah, the thing that keeps coming back to me is the stakes. I mean, we spend all this money on music school. We spend all this money to go to these auditions, and the stakes are just so high in our mind, but knowing that does not help with the audition process at all. You almost have to like have the opposite approach, and you're just giving this gift. And yeah, that's something that Joe Conyers in the Philadelphia Orchestra. He mentioned, like, I asked him, when did things start to click? And he said when he really started to take that mindset of like, just I'm here, no holds barred. I am giving this gift of music. I'm having a blast doing it. And he said he'd be behind the screen, and he thought people probably thought he was kooky because he was like almost laughing like during the which is like the opposite of what I think of my audition experiences, right? It's like angry and tense and wow. So you have all this. How many people did you talk to total for the documentary?
I think it was 60, 69.
I thought it was low 60s, somewhere around there.
Oh, it was 62.
Over 60.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So how maybe just like zoomed out view, how on earth do you take 60 some conversations and craft them into a coherent narrative? People would probably be fascinated. I know I would be fascinated.
Yeah. That's a good question. So, Katie, do you want to tell how we started this month? I don't even like to think about it.
Yeah,
honestly.
it was a month of tedious work. We started with transcribing all the interviews. Like pretty much every word from beginning to end. And so we would transcribe them and then watch through the interviews again while reading through, highlighting portions that were well articulated and things like that we thought were really useful. The color coordinating, basically, and also
use the highlight feature in Microsoft Word.
Time stamping, and We would also use hashtags. We used a lot of hashtags to separate the topics that we went through in each interview, which we used a ton. I'm so thankful that we did that step because, that was an invaluable kind of step that we took.
And I don't know where that came from, actually, because I don't remember seeing it in the seminar. I'm sure we would have seen it somewhere. I mean, the idea of tagging things certainly is something that people do. But I like some of the hashtags were kind of funny, because we were just like, well, how do you hashtag something when someone talks about like their parents being like a really destructive force in, when they were practicing, if they didn't practice enough, like, so what do you call that? And maybe we won't share those. We had like, it was kind of fun doing that sometimes, coming up with these hashtags.
Yes.
And how many hours do we have?
Not sure.
I think it was like 100, definitely over 100. And you figure an hour takes probably, like 1 hour footage would take...
3 times
Katie
maybe?
was faster than me. Yeah.
3 times that amount of time
probably 3 times. It's
to
probably
write
take me
it.
4 times the length of...